Morning all, it's Good Friday, and it certainly is a Good Friday. Happy Easter. Sometimes I'll be playing in the past in a tournament like the South End, but I think this weekend I'm going to take it easy and maybe do a few chess videos. So what happened last night in the club match for me to be up at 5:45 in the morning? Okay, well, Muswell Hill were playing Willesden and Brent. I was playing Dominic Ford, who I've drawn with before, and there was a video for that game. I didn't get much out of the King's Gambit. I think there was a video for that game. If there isn't, maybe I'll try and create that game. It was, I think, a couple of years ago I played Dominic Ford. So his current ECF rating is 195, and I'm only 4 points higher, and I'm at my peak ECF at the moment, 199. Okay, so the Middlesex League, I haven't won a game yet. I've had 4 draws, I think 4 losses, and this was the last game of the season last night. So what happened? He played D4. He was a few minutes late, about 10 to 15 minutes late, and I wanted to make sure I created challenges right out of the opening, actually. Well, my initial move is like the King's Engine defence in true hypermodern style. Knight F6, no commitment to pawn structure yet. C4, and then move G6. So the King's Engine system. Knight C3, and now Bishop G7. Expecting maybe E4, but actually he played G3, so fianchetto variation. Now, I remembered something about Yelena Dembo, a Greek WGM, who I think has written a book on the King's Engine with ideas of not playing D6 as a way of accelerating a dark squared attack to omit D6. And I thought, why not play C5 here? And also, if D5, then maybe try and go for a kind of Benoni kind of undermining and D6 layer, where the bishop's on G2 is hemmed in by its own pawn. You've got a classic game like Courtenay versus Kasparov with a similar idea of using the Benoni when you see the fianchetto. So I played C5, expecting D5, but instead there was a seemingly passive move E3. Of course, I was aware that E3 weakened like the light squares a little bit more, but also I'm aware here that the bishop's hemmed in. So I thought, yeah, I want to give Dominic a hard time straight from the opening, some difficult challenges. And I thought, hang on a sec, what's wrong here with a seemingly caveman type move to try and gain space and not castle routinely here, but instead try and present some difficult challenges right off the bat? So I played this move, H5, so immediately threatening things like H4, and the knight's not yet on F3 to be able to conveniently play knight H4, and he plays a good response, H3. So the idea, basically, white, once white fianchettos the bishop, will have this diagonal, these key squares to play with, and H4 will be safely answered by G4, which could mean in fact G5 later, and you can imagine maybe that would be useful for dislodging the knight away from these two squares. So a good defensive move and positional in the case of H4. But I energetically play the move D5 here. Now I play this not usually playing any Greenfield type stuff, but here I thought this bishop is activated. Contrast it to this bishop. I mean, this bishop's doing well now. So C takes D5, to my delight. In fact, I was more worried by D takes C. I wasn't quite sure what would happen with Queen A5. In particular, I was thinking I might be justifying this bishop being left at home. I think D takes C5 is strongest. I hesitate to put on an engine at this time in the morning, but here goes. Let's just check this out. In this position, according to Houdini, D takes c5 is probably the best move. Slight advantage to white. Something like queen b3. If knight f3 actually, this is interesting, that actually knight e4 might be okay, or castles. If castles, oh, there's bishop h3, so there's a problem here already with that bishop being liberated. So engine off for the moment. So anyway, it was not the end of the world if d takes c, but he played c takes d5. So I play knight takes d5, bishop g2, and now I take the opportunity to slightly rearrange the opponent's pawn structure. Knight takes c3, so we end up here with an isolated pawn. These pawns, although a solid centre, they're hemming in that bishop. Maybe that bishop's got that diagonal in theory, but in practice he has to be concerned about his centre, and that will be a tactical target there on a3 anyway. In fact, I take away the a3 square with my next move, queen a5, putting white under immediate tactical pressure. So he plays bishop d2, and the bishop's kind of hemmed in here. Maybe this isn't the best move, but it's not completely easy to suggest natural moves for white. Maybe queen b3 is better, and not worrying about cd. In fact, let's check again this position. Actually, this is a tricky position. I think this move, bishop d2, well, according to Houdini, knight e2 is stronger, just protect the pawn with the knight. And I guess that's good actually, because the bishop maybe, you know, later a4, bishop a3, it might be possible. So bishop d2, so there's a slight element of passivity here, this bishop in particular. These light squares, maybe a source of joy for me later. So knight c6, after knight e2, I was thinking, okay, how do I justify this h5 if I can't really play h4? And wouldn't it just be light square disaster for me to play h4 and g4? So I came up with a move here which, again, I'm not committing my king yet to castling, and it's a bit caveman. I wonder if you can guess it. That's the clue. Another caveman pawn move. As we saw from Gibraltar though, where Ivanchuk and Short won recently, they often played their pawns very aggressively. This game was no exception. g5. Actually, positionally, I'm cutting out the use of f4 from the knight. He castles, and now h4. I'm just playing into his king side, but my king's still in the centre. Surely I'm weakening squares. My rooks are not connected yet. Alarm bells should be ringing for me as well as white. He closes up the h file, g4, and I try and rip open the lines with f5. And now here, he's got this very nice bishop on the diagonal, and he's got access to b3 and the same on b file on b7. So it looks as though logically white should be able to do something to punish me here if I'm not going to castle. Also notice this f pawn, this diagonal, means that he's attracted actually with the idea of just taking now and playing here the move queen b3, stopping me castling, attacking b7, coordinating bishop and queen. But there's a neat, very neat move here which uses the fact that these squares are still a bit vulnerable. This bishop, although on this diagonal, is not on this diagonal. I play the move queen a6, hitting the knight, defending b7. He defends meekly with rook fe1. Note the knight hasn't got too many squares to go to, cut off by these pawns. I exert more pressure on the knight, bishop d3. The knight stumbles back, and then bishop c4. giving me the option maybe of casting kingside if the queen's kicked off that diagonal. So queen c2, a difficult decision here. If I had castled here, I felt actually queen g6, and then g5 would be a big problem, this bishop being pinned, not being able to do anything about it. Let's just engine check this just for verification actually. In this position, was it possible for me to simply castle? In fact, white is given as better, so I guess my play is unsound at some point in this game. Queen g6 might be good actually, but there might even be a stronger move here, apparently knight b3. But queen g6, yeah, is a source of concern. If rook f6, just giving up the pawn, so white would stand better. Although a little bit of pressure on f2 though, it's nothing really to write home about this position. e5, white's getting almost one pawn advantage. So casting kingside is not too palatable even from an engine perspective. There are no amazing resources to justify it. So I castle queenside, factoring in, believe it or not, the check option to win this pawn, because I note something that actually this might help in an attack against the opponent's king. He plays check, and I don't just move my king, I do something quite subtle in regards to harassing the opponent's queen. And the evaluation has actually changed here to be about equal. This wasn't the right move. The right move apparently was knight b3. Just going for that c5 with the knight. So he plays this check, and I play e6, offering up c5, and now I offer up g5. I play bishop f8, queen takes g5, and now, believe it or not, there's an even stronger move than what I played. Well, given that engines can see millions of positions a second, that's not that unbelievable. I played bishop e7, which I felt was logical, hitting the queen, preparing to use the g file, getting immediately a pin, for example, on g2. But actually there's a nifty move here, tactically, genius move, well, if you can call it genius, the result of brute force. So say bishop h6, queen c5, there'll be rook d5 here. This is a bit crazy, this stuff. Bishop takes d5, bishop d5, big threat of rook g8 here, and also simultaneously bishop f8 trapping the queen. So say the queen's given a square, and let's say the impact of rook g8, check, this would be pretty nasty stuff. A seesaw kind of check, and that would be a disaster. So that's a very interesting move, bishop h6, which of course I didn't see this idea of rook d5 there, but let's say in this position queen h5 might be the best. We're going a bit off course, but dg1, queen d1, say. Queen b5 could be used to shift the queen into gear. Say e4 takes, and now there's a fantastic resource here, bishop f1 actually. So this would all get a bit hairy, this variation. Let's go into it a little bit more, so you'll see why this is dangerous. Queen takes f1, and it's dangerous for white. But I played anyway this move. After the double pawn sacrifice, I just played bishop e7. And now he plays the move queen g6, so I get my tempo for the g file, which has cost me points in the past going for a crude g file attack. But here, with two pawns missing, my pieces are a little bit freer to attack the opponent's king quite quickly. Not only that, there's a slight disconnection issue with these rooks, and this slight spectator piece issue as well with these two guys sitting at home at the moment. My team captain was quoting Ralston when we were looking at it in the pub, saying he should talk to his pieces more. Look, they need to get into the game. Okay, so Queen c2, Rook g7. I thought the idea of talking to pieces is good, but you can also just look out for spectator pieces, I thought, as well. So Rook g7, and actually here you'll note from a previous variation there's an echo of something which is amazing here, which is the immediate tactical victory, which I suppose any good engine will spot. Bishop f1. If rook takes, then you get this lovely decoy for the king to be distracted away from protecting the rook, and then there's a vicious attack that would follow. Actually, here's a variation I prepared earlier. Queen takes f1, queen b3, check, takes, and white really is suffering badly here, like going to lose material. There's so much pressure. So that's how it could have gone if I'd played the ultra clinical move, bishop f1. Now that's interesting actually, because engines of course have no bias even for the idea of doubling up rooks. Doubling up rooks, is it good? An engine will say it all depends, looking at millions of positions a second. It all depends on the position. Maybe there's something more efficient at achieving the same goal. How to destroy white's king here. Bishop f1, more efficient than doubling up rooks. I double up rooks though. I completely miss bishop f1 here with that idea. Rook g7, king h1, double up the rooks, and he plays bishop f3. Here I'm slightly concerned actually. Bishop f3 actually looks like a very, very good defensive move. I thought if I try and cut off the rook from g1 with bishop f1 here, has he got bishop g4? So I play bishop f1 expecting bishop g4, and in fact, you know, I might have blown it from a theoretical point of view with bishop f1. If this was a correspondence game where computers were allowed, for example, then white would be winning this position with bishop g4. Because look at this, rook takes g4. I was looking at h3, but I don't think this does anything. This is not a big threat now. Bishop g2, for example, check. I think even king h2 is possible, because this would be harmless. There's always f4 here. Okay, but something absolutely delightful happened here, which is why I couldn't sleep. He played knight e2. Now guys, please stop the video or take the 20 seconds. Actually, should we make that 30 seconds that I'll give you starting from now? Please find the next best move that I played. Okay guys, I was very, very excited to be able to play such a move. Very excited. I played queen takes e2, queen sacrifice. Wow, you might say, what on earth is this? Well, if bishop takes e2, the bishop will be no longer covering the g2 square, so check and then mate. So that doesn't work. In the game, rook takes e2 was played, allowing check, and now can you see the final mate? I hope so. Bishop d6 mate. And he allowed me to play this. Thank you, Dominic. So this was played on the board. And it was the first game to finish, and I was extremely excited. And people were looking around on the other 7 boards. They came to have a look at the position, and we left the position there. Bishop d6 mate. After this queen sack, queen takes e2. So what a way to win a game in this league, which I haven't actually won a game yet in this league. This was the final game of the season against Wilsden and Brent. We managed to win the match as well. 5.5, 2.5. So we had 2 losses and 3 wins, including, I think, 4 wins including this one, and the rest draws. Okay, so let's have a look in overview and summary. So d4. So I play very, very caveman style from the start, not trying to give the opponent an easy time from the opening, avoiding stereotypical castling kingside. The commitments made now with these pawns, very double-edged play in fact. f5, so I've got the scene set for, you know, potentially vicious things like g4, just trying to tear open the g file. So this move, queen a6, has positional undertones as well. This diagonal is still weak. There's still 2 spectator pieces which help justify the attack. Stumbling knight, which helps disconnect rooks as well, in my favour. But nevertheless, in this position, this knight's not so stumbling. If knight b3 had been played here on castling queenside, I would have had big problems. Maybe knight b3. Simple move, because also in this position I don't want to play this because that would be a disaster for my king on the c file. So, and also b6 of course is a disaster on the diagonal. So knight b4 is obviously like the strong move on this castling queenside, but he went in for the 2 pawns with check, which is why we have the game we have. G file, the king safety aspects. So e6, the 2 pawns are taken, and bishop h6 is a fantastic resource, but of course I'm not a super computer. I just thought double up the rooks on the g file. Bishop e7, get 1 rook, pinning the bishop already. There's a beautiful move. Bishop f1 is another fantastic resource. I play rook g7, just doubling up the rooks. Bishop f3, and he misses the best defensive try now with bishop g4. Instead, knight e2, allowing me to play this fantastic move, which is verified by engines as well as being the best move in the position. Queen takes e2. If you think about it, there's not actually too many major threats against my king here. So if rook takes f1, by the way, queen takes f3 and queen g2 mate. So it's totally devastating move. Queen takes e2. He takes for the rook, check, and mate. I hope you enjoyed that one. Please leave any comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.